All right, thanks, Sophia. You can get going.
Okay. Hello and welcome to everybody. Today's subject is something that seems very trivial to us as adults, but it is important in the lives of children, and that is the topic of play or playing. Afrikaans sê ons speel. All right. So, first of all, what we need to understand is that there are different types of playing. We can skip to slide number 3, please, Pedro. Okay. So, on the screen, you can see there's 4 types of playing. Number 1 is sensory, manipulative, object play, and physical play. Number 2, constructive play. Number 3, dramatic or symbolic play. And number 4, games with rules. Okay, so we're gonna jump straight into the first type of play, which is sensory, manipulative, object, and physical play. So from the pictures that have been provided, we can see that the children are engaging all of their senses, right? So that's an easy way for us to remember this type of play, sensory play. And when we speak about manipulative play, we will take, for example, the girl that is busy with the shaving cream, or sometimes you will find your own child at home playing with the Vaseline and rubbing it all over them, and you have to struggle to get it out of their hair. Or even something like in the second row of pictures, they're busy making candles and they're using flowers. So the sense of smell is involved in that play. The children, anything that has got to do with the 5 senses, which is obviously using their eyes, eyesight. Number 2 will be a sense of touch. That's where manipulative play comes in. The senses of smelling, where they can smell different objects. I like to have the parents bring me all the old used perfume and spray bottles, and children actually are able to identify the names of those spray as time goes on. So you would actually find a gentleman delivering something, walking in, and you'll hear one of the children say, "He's wearing Brute," you know. So it makes them aware of their environment through engaging with their 5 senses. All right. The last picture I like very much, and I think it's something that many schools, preschools or ECD centers have in the outside area, but not so much in the inside area. So this one here is designed for an inside area. It's a sand play where they can manipulate the sand into different shapes. There's cookie cutters, there's things to dig with, things to build castles with, and so on and so forth. On the topic of play, one of the most important things that I like to bring to the attention of parents, as well as teachers and caregivers and anybody involved with children and play. The same way therapy works for us, we go for counseling, or we go for trauma debriefing, or we go for life coaching, or whatever the case may be. Play has the same type of effect on children. So you will see them acting out these events that happen in their lives through play. And as a good teacher or as a good educator, you should be observing children during play, not necessarily interrupting, but observing during play. And as time goes on, you will be able to identify children who may be having problems. Um, and that would arise from your observations of their play. All right, we can go to the next type of play now, which is constructive play. And constructive easily means that they are busy building something or busy making something. So in the picture, you can see the little girls over there have long blocks and funny shaped blocks. I don't know, I think they're trying to build a house of some sort. Architectural geniuses they may be growing into, who knows, right? And so constructive play involves a lot of blocks. It involves a lot of toys. And it is children basically making structures, whatever those structures mean to them, is important to them. Maybe not necessarily important to us, but important to them. So now I want to give everybody a tip. When you go through the day and you see the children doing something out of the extraordinary, take pictures of different children doing different things all the time and compile portfolios of that work for them so that when you go and you're busy doing your administrative work, you can you can make notes of tasks that the children are more inclined to do. And the things that the children are less inclined to do, you will know to maybe improve on that aspect. All right. So that's just the tip from my side. So that's it with constructive play is basically got to do with building things, and it helps children's imagination grow. And it is a very important part of play as well. We can go on to our next slide now. And here we're speaking about dramatic or symbolic play. All right. So, ladies, usually, or even if there's gentlemen here, usually what we do is we say that you should ask a question whenever you need to, or we will tell you to read from the slides that come up on the show, that come up um, on the program. But because we are so limited for time and we have a lot of slides to go through today, we have 23 slides. Feel free to pop questions into the chat box if you have any, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, I will just basically be going through it briefly, and you can then access the information through your learning material and on the portal. The recording of the session will be there as well. All right. So with dramatic or symbolic play, you can see there from the word drama, they are busy acting, they are busy playing out a role. You can see one is pretending to be a nurse, the other one is pretending to be a driver, the other one is busy with a 911 ambulance thing, whatever. It's important to remember during times of play, we usually refer to it as free play. Children must be allowed to play out whatever they want to play out. Like you cannot go there and tell the child, no, you cannot use a cookie cutter to cut sand. The child must be allowed to play. You can have rules in place. You can put those rules down, but you cannot dictate to the child exactly what the child must do. All right. It's a bit of a difficult one, but with experience, you will understand when and how you will interrupt to help a child or to assist the child. A simple example of that would be probing questions or open-ended questions. Instead of saying, what are you doing? And the child says, I'm making a cake. You know, you can ask a more probing question after that, something like, oh, is it somebody's special birthday? Who do you intend to give this cake to? You know, stuff like that, so that you show interest in the child's play. But also not too much, because remember, their brains are busy working and they are processing information through play. Right. Now we go on to our next one, and this type of play is the play with rules. So if children are playing soccer, they need to understand that every player in the team has a different role. One is a striker, one is a goalkeeper, there's midfielders. I don't know nothing about soccer, guys. I'm just winging it here. But yeah, there's rules. And obviously, you can't have a goalkeeper going to strike a goal somewhere else. He has to stand in certain parameters. And these rules need to be explained to children before you start playing the rules, right? You can see also children are playing cards or they're playing snakes and ladders, stuff like that. They cannot just go about kicking a ball in all directions. We need to explain to them that certain types of games have rules, and these are the rules of the game. And we sit there and we guide them and we facilitate the sessions with them so that there isn't unnecessary fighting and arguing and stuff like that going on. All right. Okay, I see Anthea's baie bly ons hoef nie te antwoord nie, laugh out loud. Yeah, don't worry about that. It's your lucky day today. Anyway, nonetheless, we carry on with play. We ask what are the benefits of play? So number one, remember in sensory play, we said they are using all their senses. They are smelling things, they are touching things, they're grabbing things, they're kicking things, they seeing things, they're hearing things, right? So it stimulates the senses. Number two, we're saying it develops fine and gross motor skills. For those of us who are not aware of what fine and gross motor skills are, that is basically the ability to use their hands and to grip properly with their fingers, a pencil or whatever the case may be, a cup or a jug of juice. That is fine motor skills. It involves the fingers and the hands. And gross motor skills would involve the entire use of the body, the whole arm and the whole foot and leg and alles involved. All right. Then another important thing about play is it guides them in making decisions. Because when they're sitting now there and they don't have enough of pink dough because they wanted to put a pink fondant on the imaginary cake or whatever the case may be, you can ask them probing questions which would say, what other color would your friend like her cake to be? What's a second favorite color? So it enhances their decision making skills. It also enhances their imagination and it promotes social skills and language skills because you will be asking them questions about what they're doing, not too much again, I'm going to emphasize. Number one. And number two, they might even come and ask you, teacher, what is this? Or how do I do that? Right? So language skills do improve through simply playing. All right. We carry on to our next slide, which speaks also more about the importance of play. And it says that the United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights has recognized playing as a right for every child. If you deprive a child of playing, you are actually denying him one of his human rights. So it is very, very important. I always tell the moms because they get mad, the children pack out the yellow caster and all the Tupperwares and everything is on the floor. I tell them, try to give them a box with all the things that you don't use anymore, or that's old or that's not important, and let them play with that because it is important for them. This is how their brain gets stimulated and the important neurons start firing up in their brains and they start building things and inventing things. These are the things that we need them to do in order for them to gain good imagination in the future, in the upper grades that they will be going to, when they will be asked to do assignments and so on and so forth. We also say during play, children increase their knowledge and understanding of themselves, of others, and the physical world around them. That is self-explanatory. So we'll jump right into the third one. It says research on cognitive development and the brain show us that young children learn by constructing knowledge or wiring the brain in a more physical and interactive way involving all the senses. And that is why you will never find when you walk into a preschool, a legit preschool who knows what they're doing by, let me just put that out there because there's a lot of fly by night in Hong Kong schools. You will never find a teacher sitting and lecturing to the children. They are usually engaged in an activity, busy using their hands or their feet or their entire body, and they are learning through that experience. There are times when they are sitting quietly, perhaps story time, or perhaps when they are doing an art and craft activity, but it does not take up the same form of an adult, maybe in university or a child in a higher grade where they sit behind the desk and they basically take down notes and process that information. In the ECD years, they process information through manipulation, through sensory activation, and all of those things that we mentioned in the beginning. All right. So we say now, on our next page, toys are tools for the future. Children play with toys in an unstructured manner in order to create and actively engage in their physical environment to build knowledge. So you will find those teachers who have ACD, ACD, not ACD, what's the word? OCD, and they will only want the children to play with the teacup and only throw tea in the teacup and only throw juice in the juice cups and only throw whatever wherever. I don't advise against this. I say let them experiment. You can tell them in the beginning what it is or where it goes, but it's not a sin. If it's not a sin, let them do it, let them experiment, let them see what happens. All right. So if they take the hot tea, which they're not supposed to be handling, by the way, so it's a bad example. But anyway, if they take the hot tea and they throw it in the juice cups, that's plastic and it starts melting, they learn from that experience. This is why we use glass cups instead of plastic cups for tea. All right. So everything in play is a learning experience that happens, we like to say, accidentally or incidentally. All right. And then lastly, on this slide, we say play contributes to all domains of development. That is cognitive, physical, and psychological. For those of us who don't know, so high English, cognitive has got to do a lot with brain work, with thinking. Physical, we all know, has got to do with the body. So play in the sense would mean that they are participating in soccer, they are jumping on the jungle gym, they are rolling in the grass, they are doing whatever it takes. And psychological, obviously, it releases a lot of good endorphins, or what's that nice word? Dopamine, the dopamine and serotonin and all nice chemicals that happens in the brain gets released. So psychologically, they feel fulfilled through play. Something that seems so simple to us, but is so important to the children. All right. We are now on slide 11 of 23, and we are almost halfway through the time. Let's hope we make it. Remember, again, a reminder um, to Anthea, Jonaline, and Nyarazzo. No questions asked today, but if you do have anything, pop it in the chat box and we will be sure to answer. All right, now we speak about something called high quality play. What is high quality play? In high quality play, children are truly engaged. Complex play benefits children in developing executive functions. High level play leads to self regulation. Studies have found that the quality of play is associated with social and linguistic competence. So, this will be more towards the grade R classes where where their concentration span is a little bit more. Than 5 or 6 minutes, and they are able to give their full attention. You're not going to be doing high quality play with a 1 or 2 year old child. It just doesn't work like that, right? So we're now going to speak about what high quality play consists of in our next slide. All right. So first of all, it's lengthy play periods. So it's not just 5 minutes or 2 minutes and then they get bored, because at that age, in grade R age 5 to 6 years, their concentration span is a bit longer, right? So there's lengthy periods of play. There's plenty of realistic props that we try to use. So instead of using a toy kettle or a toy racket or a toy uh, okay, I can't say doll now. You can't go put a real baby there, but I suppose everybody can gets the picture, right? You try to put realistic props there instead of the toys that you get in the shops or in the Montessori catalogs and all of those type of things, right? Unstructured, open-ended materials. So they can decide that they're going to be using the iron today to make the doll's hair straight. Ironing is usually done for clothes. A hair iron is used for ironing, but it's unstructured, so they are allowed to use it in a way that they see fit. Please don't use a real iron Or if you do use a real eind, cut off the plugs. It mustn't have access. Ons wil nou nie gesue word hier nie. Nobody wants a lawsuit against them. So yes, realistic props, but not things that could pose danger to the children. All right. Part of high quality play also includes interesting books for children in that age category. Remember, it must be age appropriate. You cannot go put Britannica encyclopedias there because they not going to even look at it. They're just going to see a lot of words and they're just going to shut down. And then there's various role playing that happens also in high quality play, which would fall under what we spoke about earlier in the dramatic play. You can make them play out uh, lots of the stories that you read to them in the storybooks. You know, those typical Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Snow White and all of those type of things. And then obviously high quality play involves observing the children's interests and abilities. If you see that the majority of the group is not interested in a certain type of high quality play that you set up for that week, then that's your cue to say, okay, let me try something else next week. If you see they are enjoying it, you can do it again the following week until they get tired of it, and then you can change it up and you make your life easy. All right. Let me check the box. Okay, still no questions. We go on to our next slide. What's the benefits of high quality play? Longer interactions amongst children. Remember, children don't understand each other very much. They don't even understand themselves. Their emotional intelligence is very low. So when they are playing longer together, they get to understand each other. They get to understand each other's personalities, and they become tolerant. They learn to take chances. They get more involved because everybody wants a part of the action. They have more cooperation amongst themselves because perhaps the quality play that you are doing at that point involves a teamwork. So it's two teams competing against each other. They need to cooperate in the team with each other to reach the end goal so that everybody can win in that team, right? Another benefit of high quality play is that it supports self-regulation. Like you have to calm yourself down. You can't start screaming like a mad thing when you don't get things your way. You have to calm down and explain to teacher or explain to your classmates that you really don't like to be the goalie because the goalie just sits there and the goalie is bored and you want to also. So the teacher gets a picture of, okay, every 10 minutes we're going to have to change the goalie position so that somebody else comes. Or the teacher can ask someone to volunteer to be the goalie. Usually, I shouldn't be body shaming, but usually it's the chubby child that doesn't like running around that would offer to go and sit there. I was one of those children, so I know. All right. And then also, we say that it strengthens the ability to visualize situations and gain confidence through self-control. We spoke about that already, so I won't elaborate further on that. Right, we go on to our next slide now, which speaks about the gains in social emotional activities. All right, so social emotional activities will be things like storytelling. Tell us more about yourself, tell us more about your family, tell us more about the culture that you come from, because in South Africa, where we live, you will be surprised. You will find white children speaking Xhosa. I had a best friend for 2 years, colored girl like myself, came from Durban, and I was shocked the day I found out she can't speak Afrikaans and she was a colored. And then I got shocked again. One day she was having an argument with a Zulu girl and they were arguing in Zulu. And this was my friend of 2 years, right? So we gain a lot of insight when these children play with each other and they learn that We don't have a lot of biases. We don't have a lot of stereotypes in the rainbow nation of South Africa, because here anything goes. You can see a white uncle that is speaking Tswana. You can meet a Tswana uncle that can speak Gujarati or Arabic. It's amazing, right? So it helps children to broaden their horizons. They don't go into the world stereotyping. They have better impulsive control of their impulsiveness. They become more respectful of the perspective of others. They become innovative. Their imagination grows, and their attention spans also lengthens. It becomes longer. All right. So those are some of the benefits or the gains that we get from social emotional activities when children are playing together, in whatever form, whether it is sharing stories, whether it is playing a game of rugby, anything like that. But feelings are always involved where humans are, especially small little humans who are still discovering what these feelings mean and trying to identify it within themselves and within their friends, and in doing so, teaching them a very, very important quality of empathy. All right, I'm racing as fast as I can, but I see we are now on page 15, so we're doing good. We're halfway through the lesson. Again, please don't forget, put your questions in the box if you have any, um, and I will try to answer them as soon as I do see them. All right. Now, what are the benefits of cognitive creative play? Remember, cognitive, we said, has got to do with building intelligence, intellectualness, creativeness, neurons firing up in the brain that allows them to think well, and have a good imagination, right? So the benefits of this is that they can verbalize what they are feeling or what they are seeing. Better verbalization. I'll give you an example. If you have a child who has very low vocabulary, he has a problem at school, he comes home every day, he cannot explain to you what that problem is because he doesn't know the words to explain that problem. All right. So if we engage him in cognitive play and we ask him questions and he asks us questions, he learns new words, and in doing so, he is able to express himself better. All right. And that's where we say by the fourth point, he has higher language comprehension. So obviously, you're not going to expect the child to speak about thee, thou, and Wyeth and Amal Daikuta. We're not talking Shakespeare stuff yet. We're talking about simple things where the child, instead of saying, I want some nana, the child can tell you, I want some water. Or he is able to describe that he wants a certain fruit, or that the water is so hot. Instead of just screaming, ah, he can just say to you, sorry, ma'am, this water's too hot. It just burnt me a little bit. And obviously, the teachers will take care of it and look if it needs some medical assistance, blah, 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 blah. All right. We spoke about this also before. He has a better ability to take on the perspective of others. We call that empathy, and higher intellectual competence and better peer cooperation. He is able to work with others in his class or in his age group much better when his cognitive abilities increase through play, which is aimed at doing exactly that. Right. Okay, so we speak now about block building. And every preschool, like a legit preschool, like I said earlier, when you go in, you will see that they always have a block building corner or construction corner. And what we say under this heading is that block building offers one example of place value for mathematical learning. So we may not see it, but scientists have discovered this, that if children engage in a lot of block playing, they ability to grasp mathematical concepts by the time they start doing pre-maths in grade R or mathematics at its full in grade 1, they are better able to do so through block building in their early years. We also say as children build with blocks, they constantly accumulate experiences with ways in which objects can be related. All right, we're going to go to the next slide now. You can read that last one on your own when you go onto the portal. We speak now about guiding children's learning. Pedro, are you okay? Is everything okay? It's very quiet over here. I know I'm a chatterbox, but
No, everything's fine.
okay. So you guys can hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Okay, so guiding children's learning. So this guy by the name of Lev Vygotsky. I want you to screen grab this, ladies and gentlemen, gentle things. And I need you to go and look up who this person, Lev Vygotsky, is. He speaks about a theory called scaffolding. And basically, what that means is the teacher provides varying levels of support to help children stretch to learn new concepts, skills, and understanding that are challenging but achievable. So, if you look at um, a building that has scaffolding on it, the scaffolding goes up to a certain point, and then when that point has been built or whatever, they add on to the scaffold and it gets a little bit higher, higher, higher. So basically what is they trying to tell us is that you start with the children from a very basic level, number one, or it could be interpreted as you start from the level that the child is on already, because some children are exposed to playing and to good resources from where they come from. So you start either from scratch if you see that's necessary, or you start from the level that the child comes from and you build up from there slowly. You increase it, the challenge, and you increase the challenge, and you support the child through the challenges as it increases. If he asks for assistance, you assist him. If he just stands still and he's looking lost in a daze and he's too shy or too embarrassed, you go and you offer or you ask permission. May I show you how to do this, or can I demonstrate? Get Bongani to demonstrate to you how to do it, or whatever the case may be. So that's basically what scaffolding is, right? They trying to master or learn a new skill, and the teacher pulls back on the level of support she offers every time, because the child is supposed to be able, she demonstrates it to him one time, or she lets one of the other learners demonstrate it to him, and the child keeps on trying until they master it. You don't go tati and start screaming at the child because it's the third time he tried it and he flopped at it. You say, never mind, we can try, would you like to try again? Or you say, you know what, I think let's take a break, go have some juice. You can sit outside and get some fresh air. And when you're feeling a little bit better, you come back and you try it again. All right. So scaffolding is very, very important. You can't start on point 85 when the child doesn't even know what is number 3. All right. So that's just basically for us to get an understanding about what scaffolding means within the ECD environment. All right. And then we go to our next slide, which speaks a little bit more about what I alluded to in our previous slide, and that is using a variety of approaches. If you see something isn't working with the child the way that you demonstrated it to him, we need to be flexible and we need to have other strategies and other methods ready on hand to try out with the child. All right. So some of those strategies that we're speaking about is that you can try to encourage the child. All right. Speak positively to the child, tell him that I know you can do this. I think you just need to go a little bit more slow. Right. You give specific feedback. When the child is done, the child comes to you and the child says, teacher, I want you to come see my work. I'm not happy with it. What does teacher think I must do? And the teacher says, okay, I think you need to maybe just move it away from the edge of the mat. Maybe that's why it keeps on falling over. So you offer feedback, but remember, it must be constructive. not destructive or encouraging, if there isn't so a word. It must be constructive. And when we speak about modeling, we're not speaking about Miss South Africa walking on the red carpet. Modeling here, we mean that you show the child how to do the activity by yourself, or again, you use one of the children that are mastered in that specific activity, and you show and you let the learner observe that child um, building the structure or doing the activity that is trying to achieve or to do, right? You create or add a challenge. You give him a clue or a hint if he's not just to jog his cognitive abilities a bit, because sometimes they are lazy. They just want it to get over with it. They don't want to think anymore, right? Or you give him directions. You say, okay, I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you where you are going wrong. I'm going to give you directions. I'm going to say, no, you don't go right with that one. Go left with this one. So these are the different varieties and approaches that we can use that is encouraging and that is constructive to the child achieving the outcome that he wishes to achieve. Right. We are on page 19. Yes. Still no questions. What's happening, ladies? I take it everybody understands everything that's happening. Anthea, Jonaline, Nyaratso, tell me something in the chat box, please. Let me know. Okay. Developmentally appropriate practice. So the acronym for that is DAPNE, Developmentally Appropriate Practice. DAP is an approach to early childhood education that means teachers meet individual children where they are and help them reach challenging but achievable goals that will support their development and learning. So that's also just another way of scaffolding, developmentally appropriate practice. When teachers make decisions, they must keep in mind age appropriateness. You cannot ask a child to go and do a mathematical calculation of X is looking for Y and Z and allerlei goede that I still don't understand till today. It needs to be age appropriate. Usually when you do purchase toys or educational equipment, they will usually give you a guideline that this is suitable for ages 2 to 3, this is suitable for ages 5 to 6, and so on and so forth. For example, you are not going to go and put 100-piece puzzle on a table and tell a 3-year-old child to do it. No, you're probably going to put a 6-piece or maybe a 10-piece puzzle on the table. All right, so age appropriateness is very, very important. Then we speak about individual appropriateness. This term works on my nerves because if you are working in a government institution and you have 30 children which have 30 different individual personalities and appropriate levels, you're going to have a problem. So when you say individual appropriateness, make it simple for yourself. Just make 3 variations of the exact same thing. So, for example, if you are doing and you are focusing on fine motor skills and you decide that you are going to use the activity of dishing up grains from one bowl to another bowl until it's done, because that is where they are using their fingers. It's a fine motor skill activity. You can maybe color the rice green, and then you can color the big broad beans blue, and you can color you don't even have to color the dal. You can leave the dal just like that. And so there's 3 of the same activity, but because they have different items in them, it becomes appealing to them. And maybe one prefers to do the dal, one prefers to do the broad beans, one prefers to do the other thing. I can't even remember what I mentioned. Just to make life easier for yourselves, you make a variety of the same um, activity, and you just change it up a little bit so that it looks interesting to the children. All right. That's a personal tip from me. You guys can just e-wallet me for that. I won't mind. And then lastly, on this topic of developmentally appropriate practice, we speak about social and cultural appropriateness. All right. So in our country, our rainbow nation, which I am very proud of, we have different cultures, we have different traditions, we have different religions. And even in that religions, there's different groups. You will find in a Christian religion, you will find Anglicans, you will find Catholics, you will find Seven-day Adventists, Hannah Club Kerk, all of that. We need to be knowledgeable of which social, economical, cultural, diverse backgrounds our learners come from. And when we are setting up activities, we need to do it in a way that is not offensive to these children. So, for example, if you're going to have a Boerewors Day at school, but there are 3 or 4 Muslim children in your school, you're obviously going to have to source the boerewors from a halal butcher that is so that it is okay for the Muslim children to be involved in that activity as well. I don't know about other cultures so much. That's my fault. I should preach that to myself. But you can come across other cultures and you can learn what is acceptable to them, what is not acceptable to them. Try to eliminate things that is not acceptable to them, or make a day of experimentation and ask permission from the parents. Is it okay to expose your child to a different type of food, a different type of dish, or whatever the case may be? All right. So, social and cultural appropriateness is something that is very, very important in today's time. All right. Um, we go on to our next slide, and I'm so excited because it's number 20. Is number 20. Consider this. Yeah, number 20. So we're almost done, guys. Well done for holding in there. Oh. Children are not machines. You cannot simply add more fuel and speed them up. They are governed by the laws of child development. All right. So there's no magic tricks. The only way to get their brains working is to involve them in play. Sensory play being the most important one of all, right? A 5-year-old needs activities designed for how a 5-year-old learns, not for how a 10-year-old learns. There again, it brings in the topic of age appropriateness. All right. Now we go to supporting healthy play at home. This is something that you need to do as the head of the department, as the teacher, ask permission from the head of department or the principal uh, to write up a list, something similar to what is here on the screen now, supporting healthy play at home. Um, you're going to be teaching the parents how to complete the work that you start in the class. So, number one, it says give them space and time to play. You can't tell the children, after I clean this house, you're going to sit on that couch with your finger on the lips and you're going to watch that TV till you turn blue until it's lunchtime. And then you're going to come sit here and you're going to eat and you're going to shut up and you're going to whatever the case may be. You must give them space and time to play. All right? It can be structured. Obviously, they don't have to play the entire day. They can come inside and they can do some chores, simple things like helping to water all the plants, or to they like using the hose pipe to water the lawn, or whatever the case may be. But it is important for us to at home allow them to play. And you don't need expensive things to play. Go on to Pinterest, go on to YouTube, go on to Google. The world is at your fingertips. You can recycle, you can upcycle almost anything into play equipment. All right. Then the rest of it says of a simple play materials drawn from household objects. Spend time each day working with your hands at a comprehensible task, raking leaves, baking. This inspires children to play. So you're baking now cookies because Christmas time is almost there, or Eid time is almost there, Hanukkah, whatever is almost there. It's not going to kill you to just take a small piece of that dough and let the child play with it on the other side there and cut out his own shapes and even bake it in the oven for them. You will be surprised at how elated they are at the products that they made. And then you say, no, before you eat it, let me take a picture so I can send it on the family group. And grandma will comment, and this one will comment, and it will encourage them to keep on trying new things. All right. Then we say encourage outdoor adventures like running, climbing, find secret places, use sticks, pick up mud, play with twigs, almal die dinge. You know, when I drive on a Saturday or Sunday morning and I have to go early for a lecture or for a program or for catering or whatever the case may be, I see the white people, they running there in the park runs, they cycling, they doing all these dinge. And I always tell my husband, can you see why the white people live longer? Because if you have to go now to any other racial home, the people is sitting on the stoop with a cigarette, with pink slippers, and skinnering about the neighbors or skinnering about whatever else, right? So encourage children to do outdoor activities that are conducive to their health, that are conducive to the development of their fine and their gross motor skills, né? And so they won't end up being one of those aunties that sit with the swirls in a kwaai en 'n koppie tee en staan daar in die middel van die straat en praat van almal, right? So we want good citizens in the coming future, all right? A good toy is 10% the toy and 90% the child. So you can buy the best toy in the world. If the child is not encouraged, if the child is not shown how to play with the toy, then the toy is going to be useless. All right. And then lastly, on the topic of supporting healthy play at home, we say minimize time spent in adult organized activity and exposure to screen-based media. I'm one of those parents. When I want them to shut up because I want to be quiet, I put on Disney Channel, I put on YouTube, and then they watch all this nonsense about slime and making slime and whatever, and I'm just happy that they're quiet. But the Lord has saved me now because my baby is 13 years old, so they can do their own things, they can come up with their own things. But for those of us who are at home with youngsters, it's important for us to cut down on that screen time because numerous reports, numerous scientific results reveal to us that it is not beneficial for the children in most of the ways, right? So something of that we should also encourage our parents not to let the children sit with the laptops and with the phones half the time. You will be shocked when I don't know, even if you will be shocked because most of us probably experienced it by now. Um, when you're trying to use your devices, my husband and I tried for 2 weeks to hook up my phone to the car's Bluetooth. And then one day I was driving with my son and I was like, you know what, I'm trying so long to hook up this thing to the Bluetooth. I tried everything and it's just not working. He said, give me your phone. He took the phone from me. I was driving, so I didn't see what he did. But I think it was about six beep, 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 beep that I heard. And boom, my phone was hooked up to the Bluetooth of the car. I was shocked, but I didn't show the shock because then it will must now obviously make me look a lot more older. Anyway, let's not drift off the topic. We have come to the end of our program for tonight. Well in time. Still no messages. We thank the Lord for that. We can all go sleep like early. We're going to end off with a beautiful saying from Joan Alman, who is a contemporary American educator. He says, creative play is like a spring that bubbles up from deep within a child. It is refreshing and enlivening. It brings that child to life. It is a natural part of the makeup of every healthy child. The child's love of learning is intimately linked with a zest of play. What is that telling us? Play and learning is one and the same thing. All right. And like I always say, this is my quote, play is to a child what therapy is to an adult. Then lastly, let's not interrupt John Elman. He says whether children are working on new physical skills, social relations, or cognitive content, they approach life with a playful spirit. And I will leave you with that words today. Please do not take away the playful spirit that the children have in our classes just because we are having a bad day. Rather, look at it and let it inspire you to smile when you see their innocence, when you see their beautiful spirits, when you see them playing, because that is God's work happening in their brains, are wiring and firing neurons, and they are learning, and they could be the next best scientist or Elon Musk flying to the moon and beyond. Yep, and so that is the end of our show tonight, ladies and gentle things. Pedro, I hand back over to you, my dear colleague.
Thank you so much, Sophia. That was such a lovely class. And thank you to everyone else who has attended this evening. Without wasting any more time, I wish everyone a good evening. Just remember, this class will be posted on the WhatsApp groups tomorrow or the day after, so you can always come back to it. And yeah, all right. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.